Today, we're diving deep. We're going to explore this wild idea of rewiring reality. And we're going to start with the most complex piece of hardware we know of, the human mind, and look at a technology designed to literally reprogram it. Then we're going to zoom all the way out to a planetary scale to uncover a biological network that might just be the original operating system for life itself.
Okay, so here's the roadmap for today. First, we'll try to decode the software of human success. Then we'll get into the big debate around these methods, because, well, it's pretty controversial. After that, we'll explore the mind-bending idea of programming reality itself, before we come back down to Earth and look at the living network right under our feet. And finally, we'll ask if these ancient organisms are the true architects of our world.
So, where do we even begin? Well, we start with a set of tools designed to reverse engineer success itself, neurolinguistic programming, or as most people know it, NLP. It's a field that asks a really simple but powerful question. What's the difference that makes the difference?
At its absolute core, NLP is built on this one powerful idea. It suggests that any skill, any kind of human genius, whether it's a therapist's incredible intuition, an athlete's clutch performance, or a CEO's killer instinct, it can be systematically broken down, understood, and then taught to someone else. It's not magic. It's a blueprint for replicating excellence.
So how do you actually do this? Well, the process is fascinating because it kind of goes against everything we're taught in school. Instead of a dry academic breakdown, you start with this deep, almost childlike immersion. You observe with a totally open mind. Then you physically imitate them, and I mean everything, not just what they do, but how they breathe, their posture, their tiny facial expressions. The theory is that our minds and bodies are one system. If you can copy the physiology, you can access the state of mind. And only after you can get the same results as them do you even try to figure out the how. This is where it gets really cool. NLP actually codified the specific language patterns used by master therapists like Virginia Satir and Milton Erickson. See, they didn't just talk to people, they used language like a surgeon's scalpel to influence your internal state. By using simple deletions, they force your brain to go find its own resources. By using cause and effect, they create a direct link between something simple, like feeling your feet, and a state of relaxation. This isn't just chatting, it's a linguistic toolkit for change. They're not telling you what to feel, they're creating a space where your own mind just finds the feeling on its own. It's subtle stuff, but incredibly powerful.
Of course, when you make claims that big, you're gonna get some serious scrutiny. For every person who swears NLP changed their life, there's a scientist or a critic who just dismisses it as a total fad. This whole field is, well, it's surrounded by controversy.
And the divide here is not subtle. We're talking about a massive gap. On one side, you have people who see it as this meta-discipline, the secret to modeling any kind of success. On the other side, the academic world has pretty much labeled it pseudoscience, pointing out that there are very few solid empirical studies and that its core ideas were never really tested in a lab.
This quote from a Reddit discussion really hits the nail on the head. The argument isn't that the original therapists that NLP studied, Erickson, Satir, weren't brilliant. They absolutely were. The critique is that the system they built from watching them is this flawed, inconsistent Frankenstein monster, and you'd be way better off just studying the original masters yourself.
And this next part, it perfectly illustrates why people are so skeptical. The idea that where your eyes move can tell you if someone is thinking a picture, a sound, or a feeling, well, that's a cornerstone of basic NLP. But its origin, according to the co-founder Richard Bandler himself, was from watching Betty Boop cartoons, not clinical research. Yeah, you heard that right, cartoons. You can see why the scientific community has a hard time taking some of this stuff seriously.
Okay, so whether you think NLP is a revolutionary tool or just a clever parlor trick, it's all built on one really radical idea, that our internal reality is programmable. But here's where we pivot, because our sources suggest this idea doesn't stop with our own minds. It expands outward into the very fabric of reality itself.
And this is the big question. We've been talking about reprogramming thoughts and behaviors, but what if that's just level 1? What if the same principles of focused intent changing an outcome apply not just to our inner world, but to the outer world too?
Now, this might sound like something out of a movie, but it actually brushes up against the really weird world of quantum physics. Experiments have shown that on the tiniest levels, particles seem to exist in this cloud of infinite possibilities, right up until the moment they're observed. It's almost as if the universe is waiting for a conscious observer to collapse all those possibilities into one single reality. The world isn't as solid and out there as we think.
Our attention plays a role in shaping it. And we actually have a biological basis for this idea. It's called neuroplasticity. Your brain is not some static, fixed computer. It is constantly, physically rewiring itself based on what you focus on, what you think about, and what you feel. Every single time you have a new thought, you are building and strengthening new neural pathways. You are literally building the brain that will perceive your future.
So here's the bottom line. We have a choice. We can be the passive audience, just watching the movies that our mind plays, movies based on old programming, or we can step into the director's chair. We know from research that the brain doesn't make a big distinction between a vividly imagined event and a real one. Top athletes have used this for decades. They don't just practice on the court, they practice in their minds, literally wiring their brains for victory.
Okay, so let's take this concept of an interconnected, programmable reality and let's ground it, literally. We're about to shift from the programming we do inside our own heads to a tangible biological system that operates in a shockingly similar way across the entire planet. To even begin to wrap your head around the scale of this thing, just look at this number. In 1 single cubic inch of healthy soil, that's tiny. There can be over 8 miles of mycelium. That's the little thread-like body of fungi. This isn't just some organism in the dirt. This is an omnipresent network, a literal web of life that connects pretty much all the land on Earth. And this is where the legendary mycologist Paul Stamets comes in. According to him, this network is not just passively sitting there. He suggests it's a responsive, intelligent, maybe even sentient system. A kind of distributed intelligence that senses its environment and reacts, sharing information and resources over huge distances. It's not like an internet. He's saying it is a biological internet.
And this isn't some new development. Fungi are an ancient kingdom of life. We're talking evidence of mycelium going back 2.4 billion years. Just to put that in perspective, our own branch on the tree of life, the animal kingdom, we only split off from fungi about 500 million years ago. So in a very real evolutionary sense, we are their descendants.
The final piece of this puzzle is understanding that this ancient network isn't just living in the world, it is actively creating and engineering the world around us. I mean, just look at what this network does. It acts as a kind of stock market for the forest, moving nutrients from one tree to another. It literally creates water as it breaks down wood, which helps create entire meadows. And maybe the most mind-blowing part of all, the branching, web-like pattern of these mycelial networks mathematically mirrors the structure of dark matter in the universe and the neural pathways in our own brains. It's a universal pattern of connection.
And this leads to what is maybe Stamets' most profound and urgent point. He argues that these networks aren't just important for the ecosystem, they are the fundamental architects of our existence. He goes so far as to say that preserving the fungal genomes in old-growth forests should be treated as a matter of national defense because they are absolutely essential for our survival. And so, this leaves us with one final, massive question to think about. We started this whole journey with the idea of hacking our own minds, of becoming the programmers of our personal reality. But what if we've been living inside a much older, much more intelligent matrix this whole time? If this vast, ancient, sentient network is the true architect of our world, then what does that make us? Are we just nodes in its network? Participants in a planetary consciousness? The question completely redefines our place in the web of life.